Welcome everyone to a new video. Hopefully I will sound a bit more clearer today because I've noticed the microphone's been on another position in previous videos and I've just been incredibly quiet and have had to boost the audio in post, and in some parts, I am really quiet. So it's just been slightly more difficult to watch, I would imagine. So that's the thing. And I know people who watch my videos who don't have the best hearing, so they've probably had to whack their volume up all the way to the max on whatever they were using, because I had to when bloody editing the thing. So let me know if I sound a bit better. But today, obviously, we're talking about the story that I alluded to in the previous video, with the strike action outside Activision Blizzard headquarters and so on. And in this intro, we're going to go through like a response to a list of demands, if you will. And they've all seemed reasonable to me, to be honest, of what was happening the night before. And then talk about kind of the strike itself. And then like something egregious that I think Activision Blizzard are doing in regards to it. And I think if we don't pay attention to it, bad things may happen. They're like a wolf in sheep's clothing, really. They appear to be doing nice things, but behind closed doors, they are not. So let's get into this statement before we go further in. On the evening before our employee walkout, Activision Blizzard leadership released a statement apologising for the harmful responses to last week's DFEH lawsuit. While we're pleased to see our collective voices, including an open letter with thousands of signatures from current employees, have convinced leadership to change the tone of their communications, this response fails to address critical elements at the heart of the employee concerns. It's all well and good just, speaking nicer to the employees, but that's literally basic common decency, and it's doing nothing for them, really. It really isn't. You actually need to be seen to do something in this situation, otherwise the toxic working conditions will continue to perpetuate because you've done nothing to stem the flow of them. Activision Blizzard's response did not address the following: the end of forced arbitration for all employees. I'll be honest, I did have to Google that. I didn't really understand fully, other than you can't actively sue your own employer in this situation. If you've ever wondered why these things come out and nobody sues the company, it's because they can't. It's written into their contract under forced arbitration, unfortunately. So it has allowed companies for years to escape any sort of damaging process. They have to go to HR or internal stuff to kind of sort out concerns, which for most companies just allows them to, do nothing about it. Then they can't really do much about it. They've just got to hope that they can be a whistleblower in a story, and that story goes viral. There are very many stories like this in other companies that I know about that just have not gone viral to the same extent. So they're just playing with luck that their voice is heard effectively. Worker participation in oversight of hiring and promotion policies. When you have so much people who were accused that were so bad in the company, you need to be seen to kind of change the workforce in key areas, right? And the only way you'll be able to do that is by listening to the people who are on the receiving end, kind of thing. They'll be able to point out who deserves a promotion more, and with them being able to have some sort of say in it, it keeps the pressure on, so to speak. Because if they didn't, Activision Blizzard would just continue like everything was normal after all the heat had died down from this completely. The longer this goes on, the more likelihood the workers get the change that they desperately need. The need for greater pay transparency to ensure quality. Most people in a situation are kind of almost taught from a young age never to speak about money, right? And what that entails, and what you learn with that, is it leads to greater inequality because nobody's talking about how much they earn. And because of that, you just don't know that your workplace is just paying people vastly different amounts of money for the same job, kind of thing, which, I don't know, is quite a bad thing in my opinion. But what I know, I'm probably a fucking communist compared, like, oh, you care about workers? Well, you must be a communist. Employees' selection of a third party to audit HR and other company processes. This is a big one as well. They're all like reasonable, right? But you can see the company probably will they even do any of these? We'll have to wait and see really, but you know, HR are only accountable to those at the top of the company effectively, and it's not within the benefit for the company to really do much about it if those at the top knew about this kind of thing and long workers of the company were engaged in this kind of thing. They just pretended like it wasn't going on effectively for years, and then it allowed it to spread and get worse. Today's walkout will demonstrate that this is not a one-time event that our leaders can ignore. We will not return to silence. We will not be placated by the same processes that led us to this point. This is the beginning of an enduring movement in favour of better labour conditions for all employees, especially women, in particular women of colour and transgender women, non-binary people and other marginalised groups. We expect a prompt response and a commitment to action from leadership on the points enumerated above, and look forward to maintaining a constructive dialogue on how to build a better Activision Blizzard for all employees. Today we stand up for change. Tomorrow and beyond, we will be the change. So on the day, I didn't really hear much about the Activision Blizzard protest from the media, which is a good thing because normally the media only report on it when violence has erupted, so to speak, and they nearly always blame the protesters. It's just convenient, isn't it? Demonize the people who want better working conditions so nobody has to do it, you know? When you consider, right, Washington Post is owned by Jeff Bezos. If there's ever Amazon strikes and Washington Post is talking negatively about them, you know why. You'll now know why. Often in the US and the UK, for years we've liked to pretend that we are the civilized ones in the world, that you can protest without anything bad happening. But the vigil for Sarah Everard, a woman who lost their lives to a police officer, that ended in violence. The police attacked women who were there to mourn. They literally attacked them. Everyone moved on as if it didn't happen, despite there were countless evidence of it happening. You know, it's just a wonderful thing, isn't it? You know, police brutality is a humongous problem, and you can't point it out or even suggest any sort of way of stopping it without being completely ignored and shouted down by people who believe that the police can't do any wrong whatsoever. And that's the problem. It's not that necessarily those people who are trying to point out what is the problem with the police believe that the police do everything wrong, but that's what the scapegoat has made. We're anti-police at everything. The battle lines are drawn, and those on the other side refuse to see any sort of problems. There's no talk of systemic racism. It's oh no, they'll demonize the person who was killed by the police officer instead of believing the police could have some sort of bias or racism within their ranks. It's really disgusting when you actually spend time to think about it. But we'll move on. So employees began the event outside Blizzard's main campus in Irvine, California at 10 a.m. Pacific time with a virtual protest using the hashtag ActiBlizz walkout at 9 a.m. There were 300 employees involved in organising the protest, and obviously the lawsuit and the company's response allowed that to become... People were pissed off. It just lit a fire under many people, and they were like, right, I've had enough of this. Let's try and do something about it. Now, regarding this, the demands that we read earlier, we've created these demands as a first round. However, this is not something that will take months, if not years, to work through. These are not easy fixes or sound bites, but propositions that are meant to drastically improve our lives and work. Bobby Kotick actually broke his silence late on Tuesday, the night before the employee walkout, where he apologised for the company's early reaction to the lawsuit. Whether or not you believe him remains to be seen. I wouldn't really. I think that's just saving face before a major event the next day, really. But what he was saying, our initial responses to the issues we faced together and to your concerns were, quite frankly, tone deaf. Well, anyone with a brain would have been able to see that. It's imperative that we acknowledge all perspectives and experiences and respect the feelings of those who have been mistreated in any way. I am sorry that we did not provide the right empathy and understanding. Now, we're just going to move on from Kotick. I've made far too many videos about him, and I'm very cynical about whatever the man has to say. This is something, he mentioned Wilmer Hale, right? That, we'll go back actually, because I skipped over it, but it is actually important. He also said that he asked law firm Wilmer Hale to conduct a review of the company's policies and procedures to ensure that we have and maintain best practices to promote a respectful and inclusive workplace, and encourage employers to report any workplace policy violations they'd experienced. He said that the company would investigate every allegation and terminate anyone found to have impeded the integrity of our processes for evaluating claims and imposing appropriate consequences. There's some in-game content that would be removed, but I've no idea what it is. He didn't say. And then he ended with some obvious bollocks. Your well-being remains my priority, and I will spare no company resource ensuring that our company has the most welcoming, comfortable and safe culture possible. Well, I'm afraid, Mr. Kotick, you have fucking failed, haven't you? Which has led to this situation, you wanker. Anyway, Activision Blizzard hires union-busting firm as workers start to come together. They give with one hand, they take with the other. Well, fun fact for you there, Wilmer Hale is the same law firm helping Amazon keep its workers from unionising. Considering ongoing efforts to unionise game workers, the partnership is a little concerning. I don't know, like, for me, in this situation, right, if I was a person in my ivory tower at the top of the company, I would not name the people doing the investigation. You know, this seems like a really stupid thing. It's like he wanted to be seen as doing something, but he must have been... Like, who did he think he was kidding? People are going to know these days the lawsuit, the law company that's trying to stop Activision workers from getting better, working conditions. You know how that looks from a PR perspective on a normal day. Now imagine that you have a toxic work environment on top of that. Is he surrounded by yes men that just like, oh Bobby, that's such a great idea. It's not even being intelligent about it. He's not even a good like Machiavellian villain at this point. You wouldn't say, would you? You'd say we're looking at getting a company in, and then you would do that. I don't know why I'm advising him on being a better bastard, but there you go, have this advice for free. But the thing is, like, stopping people from unionising is quite bad, because it's an industry constantly under fire for discriminatory practices, sexual harassment, grueling crunch, and frequent mass layoffs by his own company. So of course they're going to want to unionise to try and protect them from that kind of thing. And it's not coincidence then, is it? This is coming from the company that likes to randomly fire people for profit. That unionising is not within their best interests as a company trying to maximise and milk people for every last dollar that they're worth. Companies themselves, according to the lawsuit, have a well-earned reputation for creating work environments that are at best uncomfortable and at worst downright hostile. And that's why this talk about unionisation has been gaining traction. I remember Randy Pitchford saying something that he wasn't going to hire. He refused to hire people who were part of a union. I think that's why there was a dispute with Troy Baker regarding Borderlands 3. So, yeah, Randy Pitchford is among many things And I'm just going to leave it at that. He's just among many bad things. I just don't think there's a good redeeming quality about him, actually. And yeah, it is just that one of those things, isn't it? You know. Would you like some background on Wilmer Hale? It's a combination of two law firms. There's Boston's Hale and Dorr, founded in 1918, known for representing the US Army pro bono in the Army McCarthy hearings in the 1950s, as well as President Richard Nixon in 1974's United States v. Nixon. Then there's Wilmer, Cutler and Pickering, founded in DC in 1962. Founding partner Lloyd Cutler served as an advisor to President Jimmy Carter and William Clinton, and founded the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law in 1963 at the request of President John F. Kennedy. The two storied firms combined to form William Cutler Pickering Hale and Dorr, known as Wilmer Hale. I said William, didn't I? Apologies. They're lawyers, I don't give a shit. The combined entity is co-headquartered in DC and Boston, with offices across the US, Europe and Asia. So yeah, they're a big, powerful firm that will take on big clients. Lawyers from the combined firm were part of a special investigative committee looking into finances of both Enron and WorldCom. Ooh, good lord. They represented Swiss banks accused from profiteering from the Holocaust, as well as German companies accused of exploiting forced labour during the Nazi era. Surely you could find any other lawyer firm than them. Why would you even want any sort of that association there? Good lord, that's uncomfortable. I'm getting like second-hand uncomfort here by reading that. Oh great, this'll get better. Partner Stephanie Avakian, sorry. Well, I won't be sorry, because listen to what I'm about to say. Who's heading up the Activision Blizzy? They're called Blizzy now, fuck it. Policy review process, served as the Securities and Exchange Commission's enforcement director during the Trump administration. You know, Donald Trump, groper, grab him by the pussy, man. Had a lawsuit with Stormy Daniels and that kind of thing. Doesn't seem to really care about sexual harassment or toxic workplace environments. Well, that'll fill you with confidence if you're an employee at Blizzard, wouldn't it? Great. Well, fun fact as well, Jamie Gorelick, Deputy Attorney General of the United States during the Clinton administration. And we all know Bill Clinton. I did not have sexual relations with that woman. He's also known as somebody who doesn't seem to care about sexual harassment and that kind of thing in his own way. Has been a Wilmer Hale partner since 2003 and is a member of Amazon's board of directors since 2012. Lovely. That is possibly one of the worst law firms that you could hear that's in regarding this situation. This is the worst company you could possibly hear. If anyone does any sort of research into them, they will feel immediate dread, and I don't really blame them. I don't know. I feel like to CEOs being linked with Amazon is like great, because they see Amazon as a successful company, lots of profit there. They think Amazon's good, right? Whereas I think every person, including everyone who still buys from Amazon because they just price everyone out, everyone else looks at Amazon and acknowledges that they're bad. Most people do anyway. There's that giant disconnect from those in the higher up company offices at Activision to those working for them, which is always going to be huge. So that was the video. If anything big or newsworthy happens regarding this situation, I will make another video on it, because I'm seeing like big creators in the gaming news space that I follow haven't mentioned anything about it. And it doesn't make them a bad person, I'm not suggesting it does, but it's kind of weird to me. I thought that like everyone would cover this, you know, because it's huge. You would think it's like the biggest news story of the year, but it doesn't seem to be. But anyway, there is that Ubisoft video that has already been made. I don't know when I release it, to be honest, because I'll be honest with you, going through all of this stuff does take its toll on me a little bit. So I might have like a little break before I do this all again with Ubisoft and the like. I think that's reasonable because the Ubisoft video is quite a long one. So whenever I make that, there's various ideas and offshoots within stories that have happened since. And I may just release that Ubisoft video and then compile everything else that have happened in another long one instead of like shorter ones like this. I don't know. We'll have to just get there when I see it, but if nothing major or significant happens with the Activision Blizzard's story, I might just take several weeks off before doing that. I think the direction for my channel for a while though is I kind of want to expose all the various companies that have had similar situations like this in the past, so that, you know, we don't pick and choose and we're like, oh, Activision Blizzard's bad, but then you continue to consume games of other companies that are bad without thinking, you know? And this isn't to get people to stop playing games or whatever. You know, you do whatever you like. It's a qualification I always feel the need to say, because I'm annoyed by the company's actions, not by the fact somebody is playing Assassin's Creed or whatever. You know, I think, yeah, the bad company is profiting off that person, but that if they've already bought the game, they've already profited off that person anyway. The damage has already been done. I think the people who really deserve the scrutiny are those who want to consume guilt-free and are going to bat for the company and saying, when you cross the line over saying that none of this happened and you're telling the victims to be quiet, then I will have a problem with you. But anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you join me in the next video, whenever that is, and have a lovely day wherever you are.